The realities you face when you stop working might be a far cry from your retirement dream. Of course, retiring broke is bad, but not being able to retire at all are among the worst-case scenarios. But there are plenty of other issues you can encounter along the journey to retirement. If you haven't properly prepared for leaving the working world and living without a paycheck, you'll have to face the ugly truths about retirement. These secrets can spell disaster for your retirement plan, but we consulted the experts for their solutions. Your net worth becomes meaningless when you retire. You might have diligently been setting aside money for the future and have a big nest egg now. But even $1 million might not last long in retirement if you live in a state where the cost of living is high. Unfortunately, when people set retirement savings goals, they often do so without actually knowing how much they'll need each month to cover expenses in retirement, said Niles Geary, co-founder and CEO of Voyage Partners, a financial planning firm in Johnson City, Tennessee. Only 38% of workers have estimated how much income they would need each month in retirement, according to a survey by the Employee Benefit Research Institute and Greenwald and Associates. Your net worth becomes meaningless when you retire, Geary said. The only thing that matters is how much income your net worth produces. Solution: create an income plan. For starters, don't assume that you'll spend a lot less in retirement. Most retirees spend between 80% and 90% of what they were spending during the year before they retired, Geary said. So, your savings need to be able to generate enough monthly income to sustain your current spending habits. If you're already retired and didn't calculate how much income you would need to cover monthly expenses, you might have to make adjustments in your spending. Geary recommends distinguishing your needs from your wants and calculating how much you need to get by each month versus what you're also spending on wants. That gap has gotten pretty big, he said. Eliminating many of your wants might help you make your retirement savings last longer. Taxes can take a big bite out of retirement income. Another big problem retirees face is a larger than expected tax bill on their retirement income. Everyone thinks their tax rate will go down when they're retired, Geary said. That's a misconception. If you've saved most of your money in a tax-deferred retirement account such as a 401k, you'll have to pay taxes on your withdrawals at your regular income tax rate. So if you need, say, $50,000 a year to cover expenses, you'll have to withdraw even more than that to cover taxes. Solution: create tax-free sources of income. You need to have savings that you can access tax-free to reduce your tax bill and keep more of your money. You can do this by saving in a Roth IRA or Roth 401k because you can withdraw money from accounts tax-free in retirement. Ask your employer if you have a Roth option, Geary said. Most of the time, the answer is yes. If not, ask your employer to add a Roth 401k to your account options. Funding a permanent life insurance policy also can provide a source of tax-free income in retirement because you can borrow from the cash value of your policy. Talking to a financial planner can help you decide if this is a good retirement savings strategy for you. Inflation can impact your retirement income needs. As you calculate your retirement income needs, you'll need to take inflation into account. It's important to understand that the effects can be stealth. Inflation affects our purchasing power, said Margarita Chung, CEO of Blue Ocean Global Wealth, a financial planning firm in Gaithersburg, Maryland. If you want to maintain your current standard of living in retirement, count on spending more over the years as the cost of living rises. Solution: invest in equities. As everyone knows, inflation has been out of control this year. If you don't want your purchasing power to be eroded by inflation, invest in assets with a higher rate of return to avoid running out of money in retirement. The solution is to include equities in your investment mix, Chung said. Because you will need your savings to continue to grow while in retirement, you should keep stocks or stock mutual funds in your portfolio even after you retire. You might outlive your savings. When asked, most people would likely say they want to live a long, healthy life. But this can be a downside to retirement for those without adequate savings. The average life expectancy in the U.S. is 77 years, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. However, about 1 in 5 65-year-olds today will live past age 90, according to the Social Security Administration. That means some people could spend decades in retirement. Solution: plan for a long retirement. It's impossible to predict the future, but the Social Security Administration does have a life expectancy calculator that will show you the average number of years you can expect to live based on your gender and date of birth. You can use this figure as a starting point when calculating how long your retirement savings need to last. To be safe, though, your plan needs to provide you with enough income to meet your needs for potentially 30-plus years, Gary said. If you're not on track to have enough savings, you might need to delay retirement. Long-term care costs could wipe out your savings. Even if your nest egg is large enough that you won't outlive your savings, you still could run out of money if you don't have a plan to cover long-term care costs, Gary said. If you reach age 65, there's about a 50-50 chance you will need some sort of long-term care, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This sort of care isn't cheap. The median annual cost of an assisted living facility in 2021 was $54,000, according to Genworth Financial. You could easily burn through $1 million taking care of one person, Gary said. Solution: get long-term care coverage. Don't expect to cover long-term care costs with health insurance or Medicare. These provide only limited coverage for specific types of long-term care, according to the Administration on Community Living. And you likely won't have enough money to self-fund your care, Gary said. That's why you should consider a long-term care insurance policy. If you don't like the idea of paying for insurance you may never use, you could get a life insurance policy that provides a long-term care benefit. You can save money on premiums and reduce your risk of being denied coverage if you apply for a policy before age 50, Gary said. You might not be prepared for high healthcare costs. If you aren't prepared to cover healthcare costs in retirement, you could be in for a shock. Fidelity Investments estimated that a 65-year-old couple retiring in 2022 would need at least $315,000 to cover medical expenses in retirement. That doesn't even include long-term care costs. If you haven't factored healthcare costs into your retirement savings and spending calculations, you might have trouble paying for medical care in retirement. Solution: reduce costs and build health savings. There are several steps to deal with rising healthcare costs in retirement. You might benefit from working longer to continue receiving subsidized health insurance from your employer. Also, you can contribute to a health savings account while you work if you have a high-deductible health plan. You can withdraw HSA funds in retirement tax-free for qualified medical expenses. Opt to have any significant medical procedures you know you will need, while still employed to optimize the use of your health coverage, said Lori Kane Burkhart, the principal and wealth manager of Modera Wealth Management. Consult with health insurance experts to evaluate your choices for post-retirement insurance coverage and ensure that you select the best coverage for you, she said. Living on Social Security alone will be challenging. The average monthly Social Security retirement benefit is $1,692, according to the latest figures from the Social Security Administration. If Social Security is all you have, you'll find out very quickly you do not have enough money to meet your needs, Gary said. He said there are people in Johnson City, Tennessee, where he lives, who are trying to get by on Social Security alone and have to make a decision each month whether to buy their medication or food. It's a very scary and sad place to be, he said. Solution: maximize Social Security benefits. Of course, if you want to avoid retiring on Social Security alone, you'll have to build savings while you're working. If you can't amass that big of a nest egg, make sure you don't start collecting Social Security early at age 62. If you do that, your benefits could be permanently reduced by as much as 30%. You can maximize your Social Security income by waiting to claim benefits until after your full retirement age. If you wait until age 70, the maximum benefit currently is $4,555 per month. You might become bored. Brett Anderson, president of St. Croix Advisors, said he often hears retirees complain about boredom. They used to work 5 days a week, 8 to 12 hours a day, and only had 52 Saturdays a year, he said. Once retired, now they have 365 Saturdays, and not everyone can golf 7 days a week. Getting your financial house in order before retirement is important. But don't overlook how you'll stay relevant or spend your time being impactful in your golden years, Anderson said. Solution: create a bucket list. If you don't plan what you will do with your extra time in retirement, you could become depressed and may end up spending more than you planned in an attempt to fill your time, said Burke Sestock, a certified financial planner with Retirement Wealth Partners. To prevent boredom in retirement, Sestock recommends making a bucket list of all the things you wanted to do while working but never did. They can include volunteering, exercising more, learning a new skill or language, or developing a hobby. This is the time to pursue those activities, and jumping right into the retirement mindset is likely to provide satisfaction, he said. You may have to keep working. You might have to go back to work after you retire for a variety of reasons. And it might not just be part-time work. There's a higher percentage of older workers who now work full-time rather than part-time in retirement, according to data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They also found that over the span of 20 years, the employment of workers aged 65 or older grew by 117%. Solution: find work you enjoy. You shouldn't necessarily view returning to work in retirement as a bad thing. In addition to the financial benefits, working can help ward off boredom. There is a sense of fulfillment in work. It keeps us busy and also provides us with a sense of purpose, said Alexander Rupert, the director of Sequoia Financial Group in Akron, Ohio. You don't have to return to the job or field you left. There are senior-friendly jobs that are perfect for retirement and might offer the chance to explore other interests you have. And many retirees are finding a niche in the gig economy, Rupert said. Working in the gig economy entails setting your own hours, only working as often as you like and earning as much as you're willing to work, the flexibility that many retirees seek while still getting a sense of fulfillment and earning a little extra cash, he said. You might have to move in with your kids. Parents tend not to expect financial support from their kids, but that doesn't mean parents won't end up turning to their kids for help. But a lack of planning and retirement funds can force retirees to move in with their adult children. Solution: make your retirement savings a priority. If you don't want your kids to support you in retirement, one thing you can do is stop giving them financial handouts. A 2022 survey by Savings.com showed that about 1 in 2 parents with children over the age of 18 still provide them with some sort of financial support. And those parents who provide that support are giving their children an average of $1,000 each month, or $12,000 per year. That's money parents could be stashing in savings to improve their chances of not having to rely on their kids for help in retirement. You may feel guilty about spending your savings. If you've spent years pinching pennies so you can build your nest egg, you could be excited to retire just so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. But you might find that breaking out of your frugal mindset is difficult because you've developed an addiction to saving money. People who have done an excellent job of saving for retirement often have a difficult time spending the money they accumulated because spending does not feel natural, Sestock said. Solution: create a budget. To avoid feeling guilty about spending your retirement savings, Burke recommends developing a minimum and maximum budget based upon assets and retirement income sources. Then set a monthly spending goal. It seems odd that this is a problem when Americans, in general, are unprepared for retirement, he said. But people who have a fear of spending their savings can miss out on life goals and enjoyment if they don't make an effort to use their money. You may be forced to withdraw retirement money you don't need. If you saved in a retirement account such as a 401k, IRA, or SEP IRA, you are required to start taking minimum withdrawals the year you turn 70 and a half. You have to withdraw a certain amount even if you don't need the money. I have many clients who will say, "I don't need to take this much out," Gary said. But if you don't, you'll have to pay a tax penalty equal to 50% of the amount you should have withdrawn. Solution: don't stash all of your savings in a 401k. The best way to avoid having to take required minimum distributions that you don't need is to save in different types of accounts rather than just a 401k or IRA, Gary said. For example, you could stash some of your savings in a Roth IRA, which isn't subject to required minimum distributions. If you have a Roth 401k, you could convert it to a Roth IRA when you retire, Gary said. Moving might be a bad idea. Selling your home and relocating to a cheaper locale might seem like a smart financial move in retirement. A lot of retirees immediately decide to move away and start over, said Leon C. Labreck, a practicing attorney, CPA, CFP, and CFA. But moving in retirement can backfire. Labreck said he has a retired client who has moved 5 times in 10 years. They kept relocating until they found their ideal spot. It was a waste of money and energy, he said. Solution: test out new locales first. Before packing your belongings and putting your home on the market, Labreck recommends renting in the place you're considering for a couple of months. If you find that city or lifestyle isn't right for you, you can return home without the hassle. Keeping up with your friends may be harder. You might have more time to hang out with your friends in retirement. But once you start socializing more frequently and planning activities together, problems might arise. You may have had a similar career as your best buddy, but if he or she saved better than you, your retirement lifestyles may not match up, said Christy Sullivan, owner of Sullivan Financial Planning. Solution: make sure you're setting the budget. To avoid having to feel like you must keep up with your friends, be the one who suggests activities first and keep them within your budget, Sullivan said. And don't be afraid to decline invitations to outings that would break your budget. If you can't afford the round-the-world cruise, don't go, she said.